10 Things I Hate About You. I loved that. Clueless, Shawshank Redemption, Jurassic Park, The Mummy, Armageddon. What's happened to them all? Where are these types of films now? Hi guys, and welcome to LVH Talks. Thank you so much for joining me on the first video of the channel. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to start off with something more light-hearted just to get us going, and we're going to talk about TV and film and whether or not you think it is a bit too realistic these days, or whether you like the fact that it's become a more realistic concept now. So if you want to vote, you can go to the poll, which I'm going to put on the community board, or if you'd like to comment below and give your opinion in more detail, that would also be great. I want to hear what you have to think about all of these things. So, TV and film, is it too realistic, or do we like it that way now? Well, I'm a 90s kid, right? So when I think about the 90s, I think about everything cheesy. I think cheesy is the first word that comes to mind when I think of the 90s. And, you know, I think about all the TV and film that I used to watch in that time, and there's not much that I feel like I could watch where I could genuinely relate to those characters. But I think in a way, although we kind of we see that as a negative thing now, but for me, I think not being able to relate to fictional characters was a good thing, because it was a form of escapism. It was something that I was doing for entertainment, something to take me away from real life obligations, responsibilities, everything else. So I quite like the fact that I would watch things and not see a lot of my life within those shows and films, because for me that was a way of just disengaging, tuning out for an hour or two, and just really enjoying myself through that. Whereas now I feel like I tend to watch TV shows and films, and rather than being able to be like, you know what, that would never happen, I'm going, that would easily happen to at least 5 people I know in my life, including myself. And although I think being able to relate, having characters and stuff to relate to can be a good thing, I think it depends what you're watching TV shows and film for, you know? Why are you watching it? What is the purpose of you watching these things for? Is it to pass some time? Is it to inform yourself of current events? Is it to just entertain yourself and relax for a while? You know, it depends on what your purpose for watching TV shows and film actually is. And for me, it's always been more entertainment and to relax, you know? I don't really do it to get to the deep and nitty-gritty of things, probably because I'm doing that so much of the time anyway in my normal life. So I like to sort of switch off for a while, you know, and not have to think and not have to analyse. But I think TV shows and film are going much more that way now, and I think it's become more and more obvious. So which do you prefer? Which way round do you prefer it? Do you prefer it how things are now because it's more realistic, or do you prefer it how it was before because it was so far-fetched, but that's what made it fun, you know? It depends what kind of person you are, and probably when you grew up and how you were influenced by your generation as well. But for me, I think it's becoming a little bit too serious, you know, for something that's not supposed to be, for something that, you know, again, it depends on the genre of what you're watching as well, and, you know, whether or not it's based on real events. But if it's fictional, for me, that's where you find your lighthearted. That's where you want a bit of cheese. And again, that may come from the fact that I'm a 90s kid. And just, you know, I'm just going to throw some names out to you now. Films from the 90s that I really liked. 10 Things I Hate About You. I loved that. Clueless, Notting Hill, The Matrix. You could argue that's a bit more realistic these days. Shawshank Redemption, Jurassic Park, The Mummy, Armageddon. What's happened to them all? Where are these types of films now? And I think that that is my point here, is that these were really entertaining to me, but there was many things within that, whether it was because it was such an unrealistic concept that would never happen, or because the relationships were unrealistic, or the characters themselves you wouldn't tend to find in real life. But there was something fun about that, and something enjoyable, you know? Whereas now I feel like they're very much based on real life. For example, you'd find it very difficult now to find a good light-hearted chick flick. A modern day chick flick. They're almost non-existent now. And especially if you were like me and loved things like that, again, because it was very light-hearted, very cheesy, very fun, you'd find it very difficult to find that now, because I find myself watching anything, you know, about relationships now and thinking, wow, I've seen that happen to someone, or, you know, I could see this happening to about at least 5 people I know in my life, including myself. And, you know, you see all the complications that are shown in relationships, fictional relationships now, that are very similar to what would happen in real life. And again, I think it's good because it's informative of what reality is like. But is that what you want? Is that what you want? Or are you wanting to escape from that? Are you wanting to see, you know, the unrealistic version of events play out because you know that it's just for entertainment purposes? I think that perhaps one of the reasons why they've done this is because I think some people struggle to disassociate what is real from what is fictional or a fantasy. And, you know, that's why they've perhaps made it a bit more realistic these days. But I don't know about you, but I prefer it the old way. I really, really do. So what is your opinion on this? You know, what do you think? And, you know, I find that I come away from shows and films now, and rather than, you know, you used to come away from things and you used to feel quite lighthearted, you used to have a bit of a buzz, you know, you used to feel just more relaxed, whereas now I feel like you come away from things and you feel a little bit heavy, and it's a bit dark, and it's a bit depressing in some ways, depending on the genre and what you're watching. But I find even comedy now has a bit of an undertone to it. So even if you opt for something that's lighthearted, there is a bit of an undertone. So what do you think about this? You know, I feel that there's already an area for reality, you know, in TV and film, and that's documentaries. Isn't that why we watch documentaries? To get a taste of real life, a dose of reality, you know, isn't that why we opt for shows like that? Because it's based on real events, it's explaining fact, it's giving us fact. But don't we watch fictional shows and fictional films for the opposite? Don't we do it because we want to experience something different, something that we're not already experiencing in our real life? And again, there is an argument for the fact that perhaps that's exactly what we need. We need a dose of reality. We need fact thrown at us, even in fictional situations. We need something to be able to relate to. And again, you know, I'm all for equality. I think equality is definitely needed on the screen. But I think when you're talking about the storylines themselves, do they need to be so based on reality? Or do we need some form of escapism that's going to help us, you know, detach for a while from, especially today, there's so many there's so many heavy subjects and heavy topics being talked about today that it's almost hard to find a bit of time or a place to escape from that and to get ourselves into a more relaxed mindset. And so do we need more heavy on top of the heaviness that there already is? I don't know. You decide. What do you think? I want to go back to the 90s and I want more cheese in my life. But what do you think? Let me know down below. It was great talking to you, and I'll be back with a second video shortly. Bye guys.